The Cross Dominion had conquered 400 worlds without losing a single war. Their doctrine was simple: overwhelming force delivered without warning against species too fractured or too slow to resist. Humanity, they assumed, would be the 401st. They assumed wrong. Colonel Marcus Whitfield stood on the observation deck of the ISS Ironclad, watching the Cross fleet burn 3 hours earlier. 72 Dominion warships had dropped out of hyperspace above the human colony of New Providence, expecting the same opening move that had worked 400 times before, a demand for surrender, broadcast to a terrified, disorganized population. Instead, they'd become silent. And then they'd gotten task force reckoning. Status on the Dominion flagship, Marcus said. Gone, sir, replied Lieutenant Dana Kowalski from Tactical, not even trying to hide the satisfaction in her voice. Same as the other 61. 62 ships. 3 hours. Humanity's first contact with the Kayos Dominion, and it had ended with the bulk of their invasion fleet turned into drifting scrap and vapor. Marcus didn't smile. He'd learned a long time ago that victories like this one came with a price tag, and the bill hadn't been fully counted yet. Casualties? The Comanche took heavy damage. 41 dead. Kowalski's jaw tightened. But she held on. 41 names Marcus would have to write letters for. He filed the grief away where he kept all of it. Not gone, never gone, just packed down tight enough to keep functioning. That was the job. 6 months earlier, nobody had believed the Dominion existed. Then their scout ships had entered the Sol system. Cataloging, recording, preparing the way conquerors always did, and Earth's fractured. Squabbling nations had done something almost nobody in the galaxy had ever seen a species do. They'd stopped fighting each other. It happened fast, almost too fast to be believed. Within weeks, a joint command structure spanned continents. Within 2 months, humanity's combined industrial base, the same one that had built world wars, moon landings, and skyscrapers that scraped the edge of the atmosphere, had pivoted entirely to ships. Weapons and armor dot the cross, watching from a discreet distance, cataloged this as unusually rapid centralization and moved their invasion timetable up. They didn't understand what they were looking at. They thought they were watching a species organize. They were watching a species remember what it was capable of when it stopped being its own worst enemy. General Elena Vasquez, Supreme Commander of Earth's Combined Defense Force, had given a single order before the battle at New Providence: no surrender, no retreat, no mercy for anyone who comes here to hurt our people. It wasn't a strategy. It was a promise. The Dominion had spent centuries perfecting the art of the quick, brutal, decapitating strike. Hit hard, hit first, and watch the enemy's will to fight collapse before the first shot was even fully understood. It had worked on 400 worlds because 400 species had, at some fundamental level, been willing to calculate the cost of resistance and choose survival through submission. Humanity did the math differently. Humanity had never, in its entire violent, magnificent history, been particularly good at knowing when it was beaten. The Kayos Admiral, a war-scarred officer named Threl Voss, who had personally overseen 43 successful conquests, made a single error in his final report before the Ironclad's guns found his flagship. He described the human defenders as irrational. He wasn't wrong. He just didn't understand that irrational, applied with enough precision, enough grief, and enough fury, is its own kind of unstoppable. Aboard the Comanche in the ruins of her shattered engine deck, Petty Officer Ray Alvarez pulled his crewmate Tommy Boone free from a collapsed support strut with his bare hands, working past the point where his fingers had started bleeding through his gloves. Boone had 3 broken ribs and a concussion. He was also, against every reasonable expectation, alive. "You're an idiot," Alvarez told him, dragging him toward the escape pod bay. "You're supposed to be dead." Efficient tactics, remember? Cost-benefit. You should have just let go. Boone managed a bloody grin. Guess nobody told me the math. That, in miniature, was the entire war. By the time the smoke cleared over New Providence, the story had already started spreading, first through Dominion communication channels, then, in the way that terror always travels faster than fact, through every species under Kairos. Rule. The humans do not break. The humans do not calculate the odds. Before they fight, the humans send their wounded fleets back into the fire. And they win anyway, within a standard year. 3 separate species under Dominion occupation had begun quiet. Careful contact with Earth's diplomatic corps, not for conquest, but for alliance. Not because humanity had proven itself the strongest power in the galaxy. Because humanity had proven itself the one power that refused to accept that strength was the only thing that mattered. Marcus Whitfield stood at the memorial wall 6 months after New Providence, reading 41 names carved into black marble. When General Vasquez found him, "They're calling us monsters," she said quietly. "Out there, in the Dominion's old territories, they say humans fight like something that doesn't understand it can lose." Marcus traced Petty Officer Boone's name, one of the living ones, added not as a casualty, but as a survivor, per the new tradition the crews had started. So the wall remembered who came home too. "Let them," he said. "Let every species out there know exactly what happens if they come to take something that isn't theirs." He looked up at the stars, where somewhere past the dark, more of the Dominion's 400 conquered worlds were watching. Waiting, hoping. "We're not monsters," Marcus said. "We're just done being anybody's easy conquest." Behind him, the shipyards of New Providence rang with hammers, welding torches, and the voices of a species building faster, fighting harder, and standing taller than anyone in the galaxy had thought possible. The war wasn't over. But for the first time in 400 worlds, the Dominion wasn't the one writing the ending.